is a lot of acceleration happening today, June 2022. A lot of acceleration. Go look it up. I'm disciplining myself. I don't want to go there. And then, he speaks about people being handed over to persecution, being put to death. There's a lot to be said about this as well. And we need to look carefully at the other Gospels. Okay? I don't have time to get into this today, but he said this very specifically for the disciples in that day. Okay, so just bear that in mind. When you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation, then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let no one on the roof go into the house to fetch anything. And again, moving on. For then there will be great distress, unequaled from the beginning of the world until now. That's sort of that day that he was speaking, that time that he's speaking to, alright? Speaking about. And never to be equaled again. Never to be equaled again. That's very interesting words right there. Okay. So to me, this starts to speak about the last days right here. Because there have been tribulations before. There have been troubled times before. Has been distress before. Okay. The key words here are never to be equaled again. And we haven't seen that yet. Okay. We're starting to experience some of the acceleration. We haven't quite reached there. If those days are not cut short, no one would survive. Key words. False Christs will come, false prophets will appear, perform great signs, great miracles. This is still stuff, we have seen false Christs and false prophets, false messiahs at least, and false prophets, unfortunately, but not with sort of these super performing great signs and miracles. Okay. So, if anyone tells you go out to the desert, do not go. 4. So we'll start really concentrating here. Verse 27 of Matthew 25. For as the lightning comes from the east, is visible even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. It will be obvious to everybody, believer and unbeliever. Atheists on that day will not doubt anymore. It'll be so obvious. Okay. Wherever there is a carcass, there the vultures will gather. Immediately after the distress of those days. Interesting. After the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. That is a quote from Isaiah 13:10 and 34:4. So you can go again, cross-reference the word of God. At that time, at what time? When the sun is darkened, when the moon doesn't give light, when the stars fall from the sky, and when the heavenly bodies are shaken. At that time, the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky. So there will be a very definitive, clear, obvious sign in the sky. And all nations of the earth will mourn, because they will no longer be able to doubt. And that will bring terror to a whole lot of people who have walked away from God, debated God, rejected God. I imagine that type of mourning. That'll be a terrible hour. That will be a terrible hour. They will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of the sky with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call. And the angels will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other. Now learn this, the lesson of the fig tree. As soon as the twigs get tender, the leaves come out, you know summer is near. Even so, when you see these things, you know that it is near, right at the door. I tell you the truth, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. Gosh, there is again just so much to get into here. But I want to just stay in one specific direction. So we are talking about the sign today. The sign in the sky. It is pretty much a pinpoint marker in the biblical narrative of the last days that it is so important to see it. So what is the sign? Jesus just says the sign. He doesn't clarify what the sign is. Okay. But do you know that the sign is in the Bible? It's actually in the Bible. And so Jesus is speaking here in Matthew 24, but he also speaks later. Oh gosh, there's so much we have to say. So much that's valuable to be said here. Gosh, but we will come back to it. We will come back to it because then after he speaks about the sign, he then says no one knows the day or the hour. So I'm going to come back to Matthew 24 at a later time. Let's move forward into the book of Revelation, chapter 6, verse 12. Revelation 6, verse 12. Now, before we read that, what we need to understand about the book of Revelation is who the author is. For me, most of the book of Revelation should be in red letters. Christ's words. Why? Because if we start right at the beginning, chapter 1, verse 1, we see the revelation of who? Jesus Christ. In other words, something of Jesus is revealed, which God gave to who? To him, Jesus Christ. God the Father showed Jesus Christ the revelation of Jesus Christ. Okay, it's like two parts of the Trinity had a conversation one day, and then that revelation was given to show his servants what must soon take place. And he made the revelation known to John via an angel. Just go read it. First two verses. In fact, it is the very first single verse of the book of Revelation. Revelation chapter 1, verse 1. So John, many people attribute John as being the author of Revelation, but it is not true. Jesus is the author of the book of Revelation, but John is the scribe.